Hey friends, it's Pam with Paper Clutch, and today I'm going to give you a tutorial about how to paint and sketch a watermelon and lemon painting. If you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you have a question, be sure to comment below. Here are all of the materials that I'm going to be using today in the tutorial. If you have any questions about what they are, make sure that you tune into the description with a complete list. Okay, the first thing we have to do is sketch. And just remember, guys, when you're sketching, all it is lines, okay? Drawing is only lines. If you think of it that way, it's not so intimidating. So a watermelon is just basically a triangle with a curved end. I'm sure there's a particular name for that kind of triangle, but I don't know. A cone? Is it a cone? Y'all, I really should go back to school. Let's hope I don't have to homeschool my kids. And then we're gonna like make it kind of 3D. So this is basically just like a long rectangle, as you can see. And I mean, that's all it is. That's all lines are. And lemons are just circles. This is another piece I did. Lemons are basically circles with some like curved triangles in there. And this is just kind of like an oval. With some just little half semicircles on top of it. This shape of a lemon is just a half of a circle. First of all, what we're going to do is we're just going to draw a triangle right in the center of my paper. I'm using an 8x10 sized paper. So there's the top of my triangle. And then I'm going to come and I am going to connect it with like a curved line. All right. Okay, now I'm going to make my watermelon a little bit like more 3D, like it's sitting up and someone actually cut it really nicely. So I'm going to put a line down here at the bottom and a line up here at the top, and then I'm going to connect those lines. And that's all you do, okay? Now, this is all great and everything, but we kind of need to add a little bit more of a, make that come out a little bit better. A little bit more of a rind, and so I'm gonna start here and work my way down this semicircle to make more of a rind. And you can make your slice as big or little or whatever as you want. So there. So now we have our watermelon. I'm not gonna worry about the seeds because I'll do the seeds later. Now let's talk lemons. This can go any way you want. You could even just do it like a lemon watermelon pattern if you wanted to, but I'm gonna kind of stage it to where there's like a really pretty slice of lemon and a lemon behind the watermelon. So all I need to do here is draw, as I said, you know, things are just shapes. We're gonna draw an oval. So it's kind of sitting behind. And then I'm going to make a little dip there to add to the lemon. So if, say, this lemon was sitting in front, then I would come in front and make it that way. But it's not. It's behind it. So, and if that's hard for you to kind of visualize that, then draw it in front and then erase your lines. So there's my lemon behind my watermelon. Now I'm gonna add another lemon in front, and this one's gonna be a cut lemon. I think these are the cutest and the most prettiest lemons ever. And you see I'm drawing over top, and I will come in and erase. So there is my inside of my lemon, and then I'm gonna come and double up my circle. So we have the rind. Okay. Now, I'm going to come in and, of course, erase that part of the watermelon because this is all in front of my watermelon. So I want to make sure that I get my lines right. Lemons typically have like a center point, and then they have these like triangles that come out. Okay? And the triangles pretty much, you know, they kind of fill in the whole lemon inside of the lemon. So I'm going to go around and do this. Okay, so there's my lemon. It needs to be shaped up a little bit better. But you can go back in and erase your lines. And I always like erase a little bit so you don't see too many of my lines when I'm painting. But I mean, that is kind of my style, that you do see some lines. It's just the way I paint. Okay, here's my sketch. Now that I have a sketch, it's time to paint. Literally, y'all, my favorite color in that missions is this opera pink. It is like bright opera. It is like my by far favorite. My palette, I hope you guys can see me here. So here's my opera pink. These are tubes, so they're gonna dry, which makes it really good for travel. And I'm gonna water down my watercolor because that's what you do to watercolors. You add water. It's the most important thing. And then I'm going to paint my watermelon. Just note, when you start painting anything with watercolors, light. Do not go crazy dark. Add as much water as you can and get it super light. And I'm literally just gonna paint this like I'm coloring. Like if you can color, you can watercolor. And I'm not gonna be too particular, but I do wanna water this down a little bit. It's a little bit too much pink in there. Now, remember a watermelon, towards the end, it has a rind, okay? It has that white part, okay? So towards the end, this is where we're gonna pull. Let me get my brush. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter as we come in down here. You wanna make sure you remember watermelons aren't just pink all over. They have a little bit of different color in them. You can see where my paint went over, and you see how easy it is to get it up. I basically just wetted my brush and I pulled it up. Now, what I should have right now is a paper towel, which would make my life easier, but I don't have a paper towel, so we're gonna make do. Okay. So I'm just adding color lightly, and I'm trying to decide where my the white part of the watermelon is going to land, which I think is right here. Just remember this line is going up, so follow your line. If this line's this way, this line should be this way, and this line should be this way. Hopefully that made sense. If you feel like, oh no, I got too dark down here, just wet your brush and pull it up. That's all you gotta do. Wet your brush and pull it up. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry for just a hot second, and then I'm gonna come back in with a different color and highlight it a little bit, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and now do my rind, which I'm gonna start with this crazy, awesome green color. This is the yellow green in the missions, okay? So I'm gonna come in and I'm just going to hit this just like I did the other. We want little to big, so just remember, stay within your lines. And the reason why, you know, I can go ahead and do this part is because, you know, I didn't come all the way to the end. If this was all the way wet, then my colors would definitely bleed together. And this is interesting how I've got somehow yellow up there in my watermelon. But hey, there are yellow watermelons. I've never had one. Okay, as you see, I am wiping my brush off when I get a new color. A normal person would probably have a paper towel to do this, but, you know, I don't know why I don't ever have a paper towel. I actually bought paper towels for the first time in like months the other day because our family doesn't really use them very much. I need to put one in my office. Okay, so now I'm going to start on this lemon. I'm just going to do a simple yellow around. Just be careful here because since this paint is wet, it's going to bleed in. But as I mentioned before, we're going to start light and then we'll add some more to it. So that probably needs to be watered down just a bit. And you see how my lines are a little bit dark? I mean, that's just kind of the way I do it, but if that drives you nuts, you can totally like lighten up your pencil marks, but do it before you start painting. So you can see here, I'm bleeding a little bit. I'm turning a little bit pink, which I don't really want, but I can fix that later. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the inside of our lemon. I'm gonna go with that same bright yellow color on the inside of my lemon. I need to probably thin that out a little bit. All right. there's that. Okay. Now that we have the inside of our lemon done, we're going to go back to the watermelon. So, and when you're doing watercolors, the best thing to do is to hop around because you want things to dry before you dip in again. So I'm going to come back in with more of that opera pink, and I'm going to do some like highlighting a little bit with that opera pink, and I'm going to not water it down as much. I want to keep it a little bit darker so that way I can add to this. And I'm just gonna blot it in there. Oh, see, getting it everywhere. I still need to remember down here, oh goodness, y'all, I'm getting yellow everywhere. That down here, I'm gonna keep it a little bit lighter, so just remember when you're doing this to not go crazy and pull watercolor. Like, that's the thing, you have to kind of be a little bit patient with watercolor because you have to let things dry and you have to kind of think about your whites. So I am not an artist that leaves their whites white. I actually add my own whites with ink, which I'll show y'all if you needed to add some whites, which we'll do probably inside of the lemon. But I just, a lot of watercolors, like really legit watercolorists will leave certain places white. And that's how they do it. They leave their white space white. So like if you looked at their paper, any of their white space would be white, as I just said. Okay, I'm going to come in with a darker red. This is my darker color. So remember I say that I always have like a bright color and then I kind of come in with a darker color to give it a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of fun. And this is a part where you can have fun and bleed things together and see how it looks. I'm going to come down. I might add a little bit more of the pink down here. And I'm going to keep coming down, make it a little bit less of the white. But then if I need to probably pull some of that color up, okay. Now, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which is move on to my rind, which I'm going to go for a darker olive green. And this one I want to go a little bit light on because it is super dark. So I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of olive green. And I'm going to clean my brush off a little bit with my hands because, yeah, I'm crazy. And then I'm going to add a touch of that green to it. Okay, there's that. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to hit those lemons again and we're going to go for that darker yellow. So I'm going to add that darker yellow to different areas of my lemon. You don't want to do really the whole thing because you want some of that bright yellow to come through. And you can add some more bright yellow if you feel like you went a little crazy. I'm going to hit this. Try not to get my pink in my yellow. Then I'm going to add some more color here. And if I feel like this is too much, I can again come in with my wet brush and pull up paint. So, you know, you can manipulate it a little bit. Okay, so there is that. Now we have to let it dry a little bit before we move on to our next thing. All right, so I'm gonna also hit this up a little bit and give it a little bit of dimension. It's still wet. Sometimes that happens where you have one part of, once it dries, you can come back in and add some, you know, different things to it. Like I might come back in with more hot pink because I dried it and I feel like it needs a little something, and more water. So this is the beauty of watercolor though. You can just go light and then you can keep adding to it, okay? With the lemons, I'm going to use my ink. Okay, so this is the ink I'm going to use. It is the Dr. P.H. Martin ink. As I've mentioned 100 times, y'all, do not put this on your palette. It'll just junk it up, okay? So, and it'll dry, like it's not a watercolor that you can reactivate. It's done once it's done, okay? Make sure you clean out your brush really, really good too once you get done using it. Okay, so this is just my ink. And I'm going to come in and just give some like highlights to this lemon right here. I'm going to add a little dots. I might come in and try to cover up a little bit of that dark spot. And this is the thing, if your paint's not dry, it's going to just bleed with the watercolor. So that's why you want to start with a dry one. I'm going to come in and add little lines in here. And then this is the part of the lemon that is typically, you know, the white part. So I'll hit that up with a little extra white and kind of clear out some of my pencil marks. And here, I don't know that I'm going to actually add any white. So really that was just for the lemon. You can come in here and add little lines for the watermelon rind. This is the pen I'm going to use to highlight with. The Le Pen drawing pen. This is the 0.8, so it's the thicker one. And for this, it needs to be dry or we're going to have a mess. We're just going to draw the seeds. Now, most kids probably don't know what a watermelon seed looks like these days, but I think a painting of a watermelon looks way better with a seed. So now I'm going to just draw my seeds. They can be very sporadic. A seed is, it's just how I draw it is a loop that, you know, comes together. So start at the top, loop around and come back. That's exactly what a seed is. So I'm just going to add these to my watermelon. Of course, you can use a ink. This is a black ink. It's a Speedball. It's one of my favorites to do this and paint them in. And I might highlight some of this. Okay. Now, I'm going to add some more in. You just want it to be dry before you do this because you don't want to mess up your pen. And also note too that sometimes that ink will suck your pens dry. So if I drew something with white ink and then I came in with this black ink, it would just kill my pen. And I don't really know why that is, but it does. All right. There's that. And the thing about the seeds, just play around with it. Make it look a little balanced. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to come over here to my lemon, and I'm going to add just a little highlights, which I've got to be careful not to get on that ink too bad. But I think I'm going to add highlights. I don't know. Actually, well, let me do the bright, and I'm going to kind of make it thick, so I'm not going to water it down too much. All right. I really don't like how I added that black, and now I'm making it bleed everywhere. See, that's the problem. Sometimes you just need to stop before you do something. But all right, guys, so that's pretty much it. That is my lemon watercolor. Just, you know, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys, for joining me and painting the watermelon lemon. And apparently I'm supposed to tell you guys something.
Subscribe and like.
We'll catch you guys soon.